Hello and welcome to Chata Plays. Today we'll be playing Rimworld. This is going to be the start of Season 1's playthrough. Hopefully we don't die a couple hours in. As per usual with Rimworld, I'm going to be playing on an easier difficulty. We're just going to do the standard mode. I'm just looking through the different ones. So we're going to start with a crash landed map. The video is sped up a little bit because this game can get kind of monotonous when I play, so just looking through the challenge levels, I think I decided to go with casual on this, just for an easier first playthrough. I'll be challenging myself more in the next couple of playthroughs because this game can get mean pretty fast. Gonna start off with a pretty big map, not that it matters, it just lets you know how many factions really are going to be on that. I usually start in the rainforest just because the growing season is a year round and I don't want to have to deal with winter, really. So I think after a little while I'm just basically looking around trying to decide what I want to do, where I want to be. Optimally, you want to be in between a couple mountains. That'll give you access to resources. Just messing with map settings here, and lost my place, so gotta go pick one again. But again, optimally, growing season year round, in between mountains, far enough away from faction villages that you'll notice that little dot right there. Actually, I think click on it here in a bit to see what it is. But those are faction villages. Though if you have one of those with you, you will probably have to fight them pretty early on if they are right next to you. Going through my people now, they're not that bad, but all of them did not want to do like labor and everything. Like we have no dumb labor, and then this one's incapable of nothing, so I'm like, I'm gonna go with this one. No, decided to keep going though. I can't remember who exactly we end up with. I kind of pick where I feel is best, so I went with a high shooting and high melee character, a high mining character, and a decent medicine character at the end of this. I pick and choose here for a bit though. I'm trying to get someone without a mental break threshold, because that mental break threshold actually means a lot when you're playing the game. T2 tall tailors won't get addicted to stuff either, which is nice with the introduction of drugs now that we're in Alpha 15. Again, looking for that construction skill. I decide to keep Tony. I know that's one I definitely keep just because of her high melee. But I do keep as well high social skill. And then that one I didn't changed up. I can't remember why though. I think they had a bad. Didn't want to prostophile because I don't want people getting their limbs shot off. Basically, I'm just trying to find a trio that'll work really well together, and their traits aren't too bad. I end up going with someone, I think, who's non-violent, actually. Helen. Psychically deaf also helps out, especially when they have, like, low mood issues later on. And I do end up choosing a geologist for the mining skill as well. So I'm pretty much covered on everything. Helen's not really great at everything, but she's decent at mining to start with. So, getting right into it. So basically the premise of the game is you awake from cryo sleep on your ship and it has crash landed. So I start off with getting them to collect all these resources, just marking them so that they can pick them up and everything. Just going around the map, kind of doing that right now. Also looking around, kind of deciding where I want to build. I end up building slightly north of where we landed, in between those three rocks, just because it's more defendable position, and in this game, defendable positions will save your game, basically. again, just looking around, seeing what minerals are available. Definitely noticing this eerie looking wall, and as I walk up to it, it says Ancient Evil, which means there's mechanoids behind the wall, and varying by the size, there's probably a lot of them, so we'll be dealing with that a lot later in the game if we make it that far, mainly because the mechanoids will kick your butt unless you have like bionic people and turrets out the wazoo and all that jazz, because those things are nasty mean. So I decide there's already a structure in place, so I'm just going to deconstruct one of the walls, drop some beds in there, make a simple stockpile area. They actually updated these stockpiles. Used to, I could put them right next to each other like that, and they'd be two separate ones, but I guess they combine as of Alpha 15 now. So I'll make our two stockpiles. That one's going to end up being food a little bit later on, and that's what I'm kind of planning forward. Is having a food storage area, a base material storage area, and then our dumping stockpile zone. And that just makes it easier on me, especially when we go into making the walk-in freezer and everything. So I put down 3 sleeping spots and animal bed because we have a little Yorkie with us. As usual, you start with 1 pet. Getting some growing zones set up. At first I leave it on potatoes, which I did not mean to do. Again, not knowing that zones all combine with each other. I put 2 right next to each other. I go tell them deconstruct the ship so we can get some components. I got really lucky in this game so far, because I'm obviously a couple episodes ahead. I've recorded it all, but there have been a lot of ship components basically handed to me, which helps out my game a lot, especially when we get into electricity. I switch over to manual priorities. Instead of just telling them, oh, you can do this thing, I like to order them because it's easier, especially when it comes to cleaning a little later on. You'll notice I keep switching Tony over to our cleaner and having her clean the entire house because it gets kind of messy after a couple raids or so. Just finishing that all up. I basically stick with the ones that I know are going to work well for that character, and those are the lighter boxes. I start getting some trees chopped up so that the attackers, when they raid, cannot hide behind them, but that doesn't ever go as planned, pretty much. They will attack from whenever, wherever, and will hide behind everything. Try to get a fire set up so we can get some food cooking, but no one actually works on it while it's still burning. It looks like I can't exactly remember at that point. I don't have anybody weaponized yet either. So far they're just collecting and gathering, and no raids are really imminent at this point. It usually takes about an hour into the game before the raids actually start on Classic. Just trying to decide what I want to do at this point. Looking around, I know I definitely need to put graves down because there will be raids and we need to hide the bodies so that our settlers don't lose focus. I end up deciding to expand the growing zone and switch it to rice because rice is the fastest growing plant. Just trying to get them all to come and pick stuff up. It's not really working really well. They kind of do what they want unless you are really good at prioritizing what they want. Looking through the new learning menu and everything, I've already done most of these in my regular campaign. Haven't quite gotten around to some of them, but later on you'll see me mark them up. Now this is my standard schedule I usually keep with my dudes. I usually put 3 hours of joy and 2 hours of anything in between, but I decided to change it up this time and just put them on working, and then if they need joy they can go have free time. They don't have to work. Just closing in our stockpile area. You'll see that I take it all the way back. Now, with this playthrough, there's a couple different power options you can do. You can either do solar, fuel generators, steam generators, or you can do wind generators. I usually don't go with wind. They take a lot of room. They don't really produce all that great of power depending on the wind. Fuel generators are going to be a definite 1000 watts each time, and solar generators only work during the day, and if there's a solar eclipse, then your power goes out. So for this playthrough, I end up deciding to go with fuel generators in this, and I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm just kind of looking around right now, seeing what's all close to us. Looks like we got a bunch of steel on the map, so we probably won't have too much trouble with that. Seeing what minerals we got. I found some more steel that I hadn't selected. I actually, compared to my last game, because I want to end up building a hospital, and to build a hospital and hospital beds, you actually need medicine, and instead of buying it, I'm changing them all to herbal medicine. So once we get a grower that can start growing herbal medicine, that won't be a problem, but for now they're just going to have to treat each other without any medicine. Kind of a risky move this early in the game, but we are playing on an easier mode, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Just kind of again thinking how I want to get this set up. Waiting on them to build everything. Our wood resources are kind of low to start with because none of these guys actually want to do what I'm telling them to do. I decided to put a door in there. That's going to be the access to our mining area. And at first I didn't want this covered, but we ended up covering it up and putting our power generation under where that stockpile is right there. Switching around how they work so we can get some production going. I noticed that I start making simple meals here, but I don't have an air conditioner for that room, and it's not quite covered yet. So I will be needing to get that air vent going in there pretty soon. Getting the roof areas covered. I forgot to mention that if you build a door in a wall and it is walled all the way around on 4 sides, they will automatically build roofs. You see, start placing the power and everything here, run basic conduits to where I'm going to put that cooler, and start getting that cooler built up. So hopefully they come around and finish the roofs pretty soon. I think they end up doing it after she completes the walls, because Tony's the only one on construction right now. Tony's going to be our main constructor that doesn't mess everything up and waste our resources for this playthrough so far. Sorry about the sniffles today, and kind of out of breath because allergies are kicking my butt today with it being rainy and everything outside. So we got Tony starting work on that fuel generator in the last wall there, and then she'll go over and finish that cooler so that we have a walk-in freezer. Now on my walk-in freezer, you have to set it down to 32 degrees, but you also have to allow for colonists walking in and out of it. So usually I just go with 0 degrees. It'll use the max 200 watts of power out of your generator, which honestly isn't that bad for cooling an entire room. It does not work very well during heat waves. You would need 2 of them to actually be able to keep up with a heat wave, sadly. I was trying to decide if I want to put a research bench down. At this point, I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to get all the rooms sorted out and then make a dining hall and production room first before I start laying down like tailoring and crafting and everything. Noticing a roof was going on that, so I decided to stop it, and then the next day they just ended up building a new one, which was How nice of them, right? Get that generator built, but it doesn't get powered immediately, and then I realize we're not actually using any power yet. And can't remember if it's at the end of this episode. No. Oh, we'll figure out when it gets there. So we get all the roofs built. They go ahead and roof that area off. Later on, I decide that's okay because I'm going to be making that into our covered storage area and splitting up the storage. So it doesn't really matter much that it got covered. It's actually a good thing because if your storage is uncovered, then your items actually decay. We got someone coming in. I'm going to see what they got for trade. I think I trade off a few things, but we really don't have anything in our inventory as of yet on this point. I get our dude because the first person showed up and I was like, oh, that means a raid soon. Probably should get our guys equipped really quick. Take a drink of tea. So yeah, basic first episode, just kind of setting everything up, and we'll get more into the building in the second episode here. I'm gonna get their houses planned out and everything in that one. So I send her over to talk trade with this dude. They don't really, they didn't really have anything that I wanted. I was like, what is smoke leaf joint? Because I hadn't seen or heard of what any of the drugs were at this point, so I'm kind of reading into them a little bit more through the in-game thing. The foil helmet I was kind of debating buying there for a second, just because it seemed pretty cool. Could put it on one of your sensitive people, so I go ahead and turn that down to 16. I'll end up changing that later on multiple times because I like messing with it all the time. I actually put it up to like 28 because someone was complaining they were too cold, and then I just put it back down to 0, and I was like, oh, well, they can be cold. It doesn't really matter. So the cover and shooting pops up, and this makes me more so think that a raid is on the way, so I start looking around, kind of thinking, how am I going to plan my defenses here? It's a really open area. It's not like what I'm used to. I'm used to being surrounded by mountains. This is actually a more spacious area than I have ever previously played on in Rimworld, kind of challenging myself a little bit more with that. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode for now, with all 3 of our people asleep. Got our stockpile zone set up, we got basic power going, decided to add a battery on there so that we can have some stored power over time, because solar eclipses tend to come to us and then throw off all our power, and I think our fuel generator actually runs out multiple times in this series because people don't refill it. Problem with having so few villagers. Then I noticed that they're eating all our food because it is sitting out of the stockpile. I'm like, arg. But that pretty much does it for this episode, and then we'll be naming our town Chataville. Alright everyone, hit like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, and continue watching the next ones in the series. Thank you.